Hey everyone, my name is Ben and I'm working on a Whirlpool dryer today where we're going to replace the heating element because the unit's not heating. This video is just for the heating element. The heater element looks something like this on the back and this on the front. This is what we are going to replace, but we also want to troubleshoot it to make sure this is the actual problem too, because you don't want to really replace this unless it's actually bad. This is the primary culprit of why this kind of dryer wouldn't work. So let's go ahead and get to the rear of this dryer where we can take it apart and begin to fix it.
Now, before you open up the back of this unit, make sure to unplug the dryer cord to kill all electric to the dryer.
Now that we're at the back of the dryer, we just want to use a 1/4-inch hex head screwdriver or a drill gun if you got one to remove all the screws. There's between 8 and 10 screws on this back plate, depending if this steam port is on the unit or not. This adds an extra 2 and it's a little bit complex to deal with. There is this plastic cap you want to take off. So just now go ahead and make sure that you get all the screws off of this unit. Don't forget to save all your screws. I have a little metal basket that I'm using to save all of them.
When you remove the back plate of this style dryer, there's essentially 2 main groups of components. On the right side, you're going to have the heating system with the high limit thermal fuse or thermal cutoff depending on how you say it. Then near the bottom, you're going to have the thermostat and heating element itself. The thermostat may have a few different configurations on how it attaches, unlike the one in this video. To test the heating element and thermostat, you'll want to remove one spade connector to the heating element to prevent it from giving errant or bad results. You can use pliers to take the spade off if you find it too difficult to remove with your. When inspecting every wire connector, make sure to look for burnt damage or markings on the connections. If they look burnt, it's very likely that this could be the culprit of your dryer not heating, both the connector and the wire. To repair the connection, you'll need to cut away any blackened or damaged part of the wire and use a heavy gauge splicing connector with wire nut to repair the connection. For testing, you can use the multimeter in either continuity or ohms resistance. You're going to put one lead on one side of the element connectors, then the other lead on the other connector. Or you can also use the leads on the top of the thermostat and then the other spade connector on the element, and it'll test both at the same time. You should get between 9 and 10 ohms of resistance on the element if it's good. If it's wildly higher or you don't get any reading at all, chances are it's bad. One other test you can do with the element itself is to put the meter in continuity and then put the lead on one spade connector, then tap the other lead on the element casing itself. If it beeps or gives you a measurement, then the heater is grounded to the cabinet, which is very dangerous. It can give you some heat while the system itself is essentially burning itself up, which could damage your dryer and cause a lot of major awful issues. To remove the heating element from the heater cabinet, first make sure that the connectors to the thermostat and element housing are removed. Then there are 2 screws that need removed, one on the left and one on the right side of the heating element. Both sides have a 1/4-inch screw that you're going to need a screwdriver to remove. Now in the process of this, my camera wasn't aligned properly, so you don't see the full removal of the thermostat wire, which ended up being a big issue because the thermostat essentially blew up when I attempted to take it off. Remember a few moments ago how we talked about bad wire connectors and how they could be burnt? Well, that's what happened with this unit. At any rate, when the connectors are removed, pivot the heating element back towards you, then down, and it should be easy to slide out of its housing so we can investigate the heater can physically. See the charred dust on the back of the housing? Make sure to clean it before you reinstall the new or used element that you choose to use. This is what the element looks like outside of the dryer. It works, but it definitely looks heavily used. To physically verify that the element is in working order, you can look at every part of the heating wire that is coiled in the housing. If you see any disconnections or breaks anywhere on the unit, anywhere the wires are physically separated, that is why your element won't work, and it definitely needs replaced immediately. That's the #1 sign you can tell that something is wrong with the element itself. Now, if you had to remove the thermostat like I did, reinstalling that can differ from model to model. This dryer exclusively uses a metal finger and welded connector to hold the unit into place. In hindsight, I should have mounted 2 additional screws to the housing to hold it into place for a more secure install. Most tend to be installed that way, which I think is superior, but in my case, it didn't have the screws. Simply use a pair of needle nose pliers to slot the metal finger into the thermostat housing and make sure the welded connector is firmly slotted in the left side of the element connector to have a good connection. Finally, you want to reinstall the heating element to the dryer. There are two metal protrusions at the top of the element to hold it in place so you can install it. You want to install the element canister at a slight angle, then press up on the element to fit it into place. This can take a little bit of wiggling and rocking the heating canister to get it exactly into place. When you have it installed properly, you need to make sure that these get aligned with the screw holes properly, because if you do not get them both aligned, you won't be able to fully install the canister properly. So I always suggest leave a little room with the screws to allow it to move back and forward so you get them perfectly aligned. Finally, you want to connect the spade terminals back to where they need to go on the thermostat and element. When you have every one of these steps done, your dryer should be back in good working order, and all you need to do is put the back panel on and run the dryer. If you replace the old element with a new one, note that there is about a 15 to 30 minute burn-in period that the dryer will have with a strange odor. Now, I'd suggest that you run the dryer until the odor goes away before you run clothes in it to be safe. Also remember that I have a longer form video with all the other heat-based fixes that you can have to look into. And this is a link on the screen on YouTube to click that video and see the other fixes. Have a great day.